The entitled sisters had been scribbling on my walls, destroying my garden, and attacking my dog for 2 days before I finally decided to kick them out of my home. During the course of a week, my husband and I were hosting my younger sister, her husband, and their 2 children, who were 3 years old and 5 years old. It is important to note that we reside in separate states. Every one of my children is now an adult and lives on their own. I am older than my sister, and she is still in the process of starting a family. We have always been close, despite the fact that we are of different ages. She is a kind and considerate parent. Due to the fact that my children are in their adult years, I was unaware of it prior to her coming to be with us. Instead of using timeouts or grounding techniques, she insisted that gentle parenting entails having conversations about feelings. That was strange since it sounded as though there was no discipline. But it didn't say anything about not disrupting the situation, until I saw a parent who was gentle with their children and was shocked. During the first 2 days, her daughter used crayons to decorate my walls. In addition to removing flowers that I had just recently planted in my garden bed, her son hurled a rock at my car that was parked in the driveway. In addition, they continued to punch my golden retriever in the face and pull his hair throughout the entire encounter. My dog is calm and gentle, and he is getting older. She never bit the children, never attempted to bite them, and never tried to terrify them. Every time, I anticipated that either my sister or her husband would be the one to punish the children. They did not do it. And so I did. I made an effort. Simply telling her children to stop or reprimanding them was enough to drive my sister completely insane. I was told that it is not my responsibility to reprimand them. Despite the fact that I believe that their parents should reprimand them, I informed her that someone had to do it because they are making my house a mess. However, it appears that their parents are not willing. In response to my assertion that they are deserving of a severe punishment, she began to moan about the fact that they do not spank their children like we did. In order to get her children to clean up their mess, I suggested that she have a stern conversation with them. She noted that the behavior of my children was not able to be disciplined. Whenever she did something, she would constantly question, "What are you feeling that made you do that?" As soon as I saw that this behavior would not stop, my husband and I gave them the order to either move into a motel or return home. Despite our desire to have them stay with us for a week, we were only able to grant them permission to stay for 2 days. I informed her that her children will have a difficult life, a rude awakening, and probably even time spent in jail if she continues to practice soft parenting. When I informed her that this hippy-dippy gentle parenting nonsense is a scam and will damage your children's life, she pushed back and lost her cool. In retrospect, I regret saying that, but at the time it was completely out of control. Now, she refuses to communicate with me, and our mother blames me for kicking them out when they had intended to remain for a longer period of time. Are you a jerk? Have a say. It would have been more effective to comment or than to resort to violence and shouting. The majority of persistently negative behaviors in children are caused by the dominance and physical and verbal abuse of their parents. Revise. Their children were raised with kindness by you. Remove the dog from them if they behave inappropriately with it. The way you raised your sister was quite kind, regarding the borders. The fact that she appears to have none with her children is even more concerning than the fact that she is abusing them. A C. My children are never beaten by me. My argument would have been more effectively communicated if I had used a louder voice rather than yelling. It is unreasonable to anticipate that a child will always be exposed to a tone that is really tranquil and then be able to deal with a tone that is not calm when they are an adult. Depending on the circumstances, it may be appropriate to raise your voice. You are a monk. Thus you are free to disagree with me. One more update. I read the comments. The way that my sister raises her children is not gentle, in my opinion. On the other hand, the truly gentle parenting that many of you describe strikes me as strange, and I can't even fathom how that might possibly work with my children. It's true that new parents are operating in a different manner. It is difficult for me to predict how that will impact society, but to each his or her own. The world is a nasty place. In the event that someone yells at them or engages in any other behavior that does not fall under the purview of gentle parenting, how will these children deal with life? In a perfect world, gentle parenting could be a good idea, but I can't see myself actually doing it. In the event that my sister ever communicates with me again, I will not invite her back to my house whenever her children are present. Despite this, I have faith that we will be able to make amends because she is my sister. She is incapable of managing her children. How are you, commenter? Be a good parent. This is not a soft parenting style. When it comes to gentle parenting, saying no is acceptable. It seems to me that this is a hoax because of the odd emphasis that you place on gentle parenting rather than on the strange behavior of your sister. I see. The dissolution of the relationship between my cherished sister and sister is entirely attributable to the practice of gentle parenting, which is why I am so focused on it. Even though I am concentrating on my sister's behavior, her parenting style is the primary factor. After implementing this parenting strategy, she underwent a complete transformation. Comment obviously with regard to the dog, I would be unhappy with your sister for not interfering, but all of the things you stated are typical behaviors for children of their age, and it is a significant reaction to yell at your sister and force them out of the house after 2 days. The act of stealing flowers and painting walls could cause damage to your building. To provide you with a quote, I guess you should never have children. I do, in fact, have children who are now adults. They did not behave in a way that was consistent with wild children since they were aware that there would be consequences. As a commenter, I am relieved to see that so many individuals are advocating for gentle parenting. Opposing posts are made in this forum to justify harsh or violent penalties. It would suggest that the children are not as important as the op or her sister. Both most likely received a punishment similar to that of an op. One travels in one direction, while the other travels in a different direction. The problems you've been having in your relationship could have been handled differently. Your efforts to ground them are probably not going to be successful. I informed you that my sister's children bullied my dog and caused damage to my house. I am not in favor of spanking, but kids should be held accountable and required to clean up after themselves. You came to the conclusion that I am a strict mother. Recent developments too. Either my sister received a text message from someone, or she read the original post on Reddit. I can't believe I'm posting about our family's turmoil, she said to me in a text message, which included a link to my article. Since I wrote it on this page, she has finished coming to terms with our differences. Obstructed my path. Given that she is currently perusing this, I will address her here because I am unable to phone her. I really love you, Allison, and I have always placed a high value on our connection. Nevertheless, I am unable to convince you to change your decision. If I were to discuss my feelings, you ought to be proud of me. Seeing as how I'm finished, here it is. Even if you are related to me, I will not tolerate your children acting in the same manner that they did in my home, particularly when they pulled Bella's hair and hit her face. Animals were mistreated in this manner. I don't understand how you and Stephen allowed them to behave in such a way, because it was all wrong. I won't give you a bill for the damage that your children have caused, as some people have suggested. It is my responsibility to pay for the repairs since I am confident that this will not occur again unless you make significant changes to the way you raise and eventually discipline your children. They need to be disciplined before it is too late and their future is gone. But you should avoid using physical force in this process. I don't know why you chose to be a kind parent, but it has completely changed you. You have evolved to the point where you don't like what other people do and are offended by everything. I have no idea what took place. In order to verify that 99% of people would have done what I did, and that I wasn't being harsh, I would appreciate it if you could read some of the comments that were left on the initial post. If you do not discipline unacceptable behavior, you are being cruel to your children. There are some comments that provide exceptional guidance for parenting, while others are harsh. That is, however, life. It is not kind. Remarks are: welcome. Observer, I find this to be troubling. It would be great to talk. The block that she has placed stops me from phoning or messaging her. What should I do in this situation? Send her a message using Pigeon. Is there anyone who is a common friend and can send me a message? Please refrain from involving our shared contacts in this mess. The fact that she has blocked me indicates that she does not wish to engage in conversation. In the third update, I was eventually contacted by Allison, who is a pseudonym. When she reads some of the comments, she discovers that the majority of people believe that her parenting choices are insensitive to her children. She made a request for my approval. It was possible for her parenting approach to evolve, I assured her. She attempted to be a kinder mom, but she soon understood that she was mistaken. I inquired about her plans for the future. In addition to expressing her regret, she mentioned that she and her husband had lost acquaintances due to the fact that people do not want to be around her children. Having been roused from her sleep by the entire ordeal, she remarked. Allison is going to try something different because she found that gentle parenting did not work for her children. She was adamant about revenge and repercussions, but she did not guarantee any physical punishment. That is outstanding, as I stated. She is concerned that the children would hate it and cause more problems. I informed her that she will need to do some adjusting. Specifically, she stated that her partner did not agree with gentle parenting, which led to difficulties in their marriage. At this point, her partner is relieved that she is willing to endure punishments and lessons for their children. I reassured her that she is making well-informed decisions. My house and my dog were both damaged by her children, but the fact that she is willing to modify her parenting style in order to avoid this from happening makes me feel less upset to her. The authorization to post this update was granted to me by Allison. Problems were solved by us. It is a mistake that she made as a mom, but she is a wonderful person. Since this is my final update and essay on this issue, I felt it was important to address the topic around permissive parenting versus gentle parenting that was brought up by a number of individuals. Every single commenter seems to be reporting that the child engaged in an inappropriate behavior. The parent inquires about how the child is feeling, and then redirects them to another work or activity, possibly reminding them that they are not doing anything wrong. The practice of redirecting a child to a different activity or task as a form of discipline or as a natural consequence is included in general parenting. Such parenting is considered to be lax because there is neither a penalty nor a consequence. I concur with the assessment that my sister was not engaging in fundamental parenting practices because she simply spoke her feelings and did not redirect or refuse to say no. After going through all of the comments, it seems like permissive parenting and gentle parenting are quite close, if not the same. In the event that children are taught that they will be redirected as a result for their actions, they will be shocked and perplexed when they are confronted with actual consequences and punishments. They will be shocked if they grow up and steal a car, because the police will arrest them, throw them in jail, and fine them. This will be a surprise to them, because all they wanted was to return the automobile to its owner and continue with their day. There were a number of remarks that were pertinent. This seems to represent the tone of the majority of the remarks. A commentator. Due to the fact that this is my most difficult obstacle, true gentle parenting necessitates genuine repercussions. The effects of natural occurrences lead to ramifications. You are correct in stating that stealing a vehicle will result in your arrest. In the natural world, actions have consequences. Similarly, caring parenting is necessary. I was thrown a toy by a child. I'm going to put that toy up because nobody is going to throw anything at me. My kid draws on the walls frequently. They are going to clean or assist. It is dependent on age to clean. They will use their own money to purchase toys in order to replace a toy that has been smashed by a sibling. Even before the brain is able to form connections, young children can benefit from redirection. It is beneficial to redirect before it is necessary to take ramifications. Even when the child is irritated but has not thrown anything. Redirection is not the same thing as penalties. Whether one is nice or not, both are necessary components of genuine parenting. In any case, I am appreciative of your efforts. I hope that everything works out well for her, her hubby, and your connection with her. Upvoted, downvoted, your natural consequences seem more like giving back a car that was stolen to the person who took it. It's not jail. Continue on to the following story. The second story. Despite the fact that we had nurtured a young kid for a period of 19 years, he did not invite us to his wedding. This was the most accurate translation of what was said, despite the fact that the title is a bit strange. Please accept my apologies for the typos and pronunciation mistakes. I do not speak English as my first language. I am 44 years old, and my spouse is 40 years old. 20 years of marriage, 22 years of being together. M24 is our adopted son. Contrary to him, we are not black. Only mentioning this because it will be very important to the story later on. None of this ever takes place in the United States. Would you kindly allow me to explain? After returning from a brief vacation, my husband and I were driving on a highway when we came across a young child who was sitting by the side of the road. This happened approximately 19 years ago. There was nothing but grass and hills in the area. There were no buildings. Given that there was nothing for miles, and that there were no autos in the vicinity of the child, we decided to stop and check on him. As we approached the boy, we couldn't help but notice that he was filthy and malnourished due to the fact that he was just wearing diapers. Despite his slight stature, it was determined that he was 5 years old. In response to our inquiry as to why he was by himself, he stated that his mother and father had brought him here and asked him to wait. Because there was no mobile signal, we brought him back to town and brought him to the police station that was closest to us. In conclusion, Child Protective Services was contacted. We came to the conclusion that his parents were drug addicts who were attempting to escape a criminal act. The fact that Jason's grandma suffered from mental illness and was unable to provide care for him made us feel terrible. In spite of the fact that he was placed in foster care right away, we continued to communicate with his caseworker because we felt terrible for him. Following a few months of talks with the caseworker, the bureaucracy, and ourselves, we were finally able to officially adopt Jason. I am still able to maintain a career that pays quite well, and I am able to provide a comfortable living for a little family. Now, let's talk about the situation. A parole hearing was held for Jason's parents 3 years ago. They got in touch with him not long after that in order to get back together. A few odd letters had been sent to him prior to that time, but nothing of substance had been transmitted. One day, after he had been reluctant to talk to them, he finally decided to meet them for lunch. While I was feeling jealous, I was also concerned about what might occur. Nevertheless, I was able to detect that my kid was interested in doing it, so I denied those feelings and supported him. I would say that it has been 3 months. He then began to depart from us. After such a long time, I came to the conclusion that he was eager to talk to his biological parents. Talk to them about his life, spend time with them, and so forth. Whenever he would cancel arrangements with us at the last minute, it would irritate me because my mother had an unexpected emergency, my father needed my assistance today, or for any other reason. He used to visit us once a week and call us every day, but all of a sudden, he didn't come by very often during that month. Once more, I assumed that it was only a transitory situation, that he was thrilled, and that he will be seeing us again very soon. We couldn't contain our excitement when he invited us to supper one evening. It was arranged that our family, his biological parents, and his girlfriend at the time would get together. Even though I didn't want to meet the people who abandoned my son on the road, I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that they have since changed their ways. Our affection for our son is unquestionable. It was necessary for us to make an effort. A failure at the diner would be an understatement. Over the course of the night, his biological mother treated both my husband and I with disrespect. Her remarks were consistently homophobic and racial, and she engaged in passive-aggressive behavior. It was the same with his father. The culmination of the situation was when she yelled the F word at my husband and threw a glass at him. After an argument that involved yelling, we left. The following day, Jason expressed his deepest apologies and vowed to never do something like that again. I made it clear to him that my husband and I did not wish to have any affiliation with them in any way, shape, or form. On the surface, he did. But he withdrew for several months. That is why the events of the previous week occurred. For the past 9 months, Jason has been making preparations for his wedding to his fiancée, who he proposed to. Absolutely, we couldn't contain our joy for him. No invitation was received after a number of months had passed. In response to our inquiries, Jason would always respond that they hadn't been dispatched and then change the subject. A few weeks ago, my husband came across a post on Twitter that was made by Jason's groomsmen. The tweet was made by the individual who arrived with the invitation. When Jason came over the following time, he informed us that we had not been invited to the event. When we inquired as to the reason, he responded that his parents would not permit us to go. A raging rage indeed. He picked trash above us. How could he do that? If they were so important, why? We were treated in such a manner, why? How did he react? I am more familiar to them. They belong to my people. So how was he able to do that? My partner shed tears. It's only been a few occasions that I've been truly enraged, but this moment surpassed all of them. I promptly ejected him from the premises and instructed him to never come back. His status as our son had changed. Throughout the day, I comforted my spouse by hugging them. I canceled all of the payments for the wedding the following day. This included everything that was essential, including items that we were unable to refund. Jason had the audacity to call me and yell at me, asking me how I managed to pull it off. A wedding is scheduled to take place in a few months, and he needs to find replacements. I responded by telling him that I didn't care and suggested that he ask those 2 leeches that you call parents for assistance. I am 19 years old. 19 years of loving and caring for my son, and then being treated like a piece of garbage. Because of his wonderful life, we sacrificed our blood, sweat, and tears, as well as all of our love. We are awarded that reward. Why do I inquire as to whether or not I am the Because of what we did to Jason, his friends, and a few members of our family have been reaching out to us and sending us messages, accusing us of being cruel and making us feel like monsters. When I think about that, I wonder whether I became too upset. Isn't it true that parents are supposed to love without conditions? On the other hand, how can we get around this obstacle? Betrayed is how we feel. How are we going to deal with this? Is it reasonable for us to have such feeling? How about you, AITA? As I was leaving my PM comments, I made a mental point to clarify a few questions. Take a look at that if you have any questions. In the second edit, I would want to emphasize that this post contains a lot of racist comments. Put that rhetoric under control. Rather than expressing gratitude, I would prefer that you depart.